Hello and welcome to today's episode of Stand Up. I've got the great Jeff Jarvis joining me. Awesome conversation with Jeff. We sat down and were live yesterday on YouTube and Substack and other places. Great conversation. If you want to jump to it, we begin at
about 24 minutes in.
But I've got your headlines and your clips. It's the shit show coming up in just a moment, but just want to give you a heads up. I will not be hosting the Hangout tonight because I will be in Virginia at John Carroll's concert tonight, his show tonight in Purcellville, Virginia. If you still want to go, I think there's tickets available. A few of us are planning on going. I'm driving the 5 hours down, and I will probably be there during the normal Hangout time. But stay tuned. I will maybe meet up on Friday night. I might host a Hangout Friday night. That would be fun. Don't have plans as of now. I'm probably going to want to chill and stay in. It's been quite a week already, so thank you for your patience, but I hope to see you at the Hangout, possibly Friday night, and I hate to miss you tomorrow. I might go live, though. Maybe I'll send a link out to subscribers and broadcast some of John's show live. All right, well, that is the one thing I wanted to tell you. The other thing is just thanks for being here. I don't think I said that. Thanks for being here, and thanks for being you, for supporting the show. I'm trying to be here pretty much every day for you and having these great guests that join me consistently, as well as recap your news. And man, yesterday was a lot of the reaction to Tuesday's elections where Democrats won just about everywhere. And what does it mean? That's the big question everybody's trying to unpack today. I will say this. I think there's a lot of truth to the idea that Republicans are in trouble. I think that is a pretty fair conclusion right now. The shutdown is hurting them. People hate Trump. The Supreme Court apparently hates tariffs, it looks like. They're fighting this anti-Semitic sentiment in their party, led by Nick Fuentes, who is kind of taking over. The economy isn't strong. There looks like there could be an AI or some other industry bubble. The anti-trans shit apparently isn't working for them, apparently. I was surprised by that it wasn't still working. But according to yesterday's elections across the country, including at many school boards, it isn't effective anymore, which is amazing. Also, healthcare is going to implode, and people don't love that, so the White House is too, you know? He's destroying healthcare, and the prices are going up and doing nothing about it. In the meantime, he's tearing down the East Wing without anybody's permission, and it's just bad. I think Republicans are in trouble. That is what I'm trying to say. Let me know if you disagree with me, but that's my quick hot take here at the top. And obviously, to be clear, the caveat also must be mentioned that the game has always been rigged. As long as the U.S. Senate doesn't represent the American people's interests, as long as the two senators from Wyoming have as much representation in the U.S. Senate with like less than 1 million people than California does with almost 40 million people. There are a lot more of us than there are them. When you look at the map and you see it all red, that's because nobody lives in those places. The vast majority of people live in more densely populated areas, towns, and cities, and those places are overwhelmingly blue. Believe in climate science, want gun regulations, and believe in vaccination. Okay? The vast majority of us live on Earth 1. Just to be clear. That being said, Republicans are in trouble. I don't know if that means they're going to lose the House in the midterm elections because they're redistricting everywhere. Good news is so is Maryland now. I don't know if that means Democrats are going to be able to take back the Senate. You still have that pesky filibuster. And of course, Blobby Jones is in the White House. So I'm just saying Republicans are in trouble, and I think that's a good thing. All right, let's get to more headlines. Speaking of Blobby Jones, his sweeping tariffs appear to be on shaky legal ground, according to the interpretations of the arguments heard and the answers and challenges given by the Supreme Court yesterday, indicating he may not have the authority to impose these tariffs under a law designed for use during a national emergency. White House might need a plan B, and that would be a good thing as well. Yesterday was strike number 16. That's right. The U.S. military killed 2 people on Tuesday in boats suspected of smuggling drugs in the Eastern Pacific Ocean. The Defense Secretary DUI hire Pete Hegseth, who's a Christian nationalist and thinks that men should vote and women shouldn't, or at least his pastor does, and he certainly doesn't seem to disagree, said it was his 16th announced strike in the offensive that began in early September and raised the death toll to at least 67 people in attacks in both the Caribbean Sea and the Pacific. The FAA announced yesterday that it will reduce air traffic by 10% across 40 high-volume markets beginning Friday morning to maintain safety during the ongoing government shutdown. The agency is confronting staffing shortages caused by air traffic controllers who are working unpaid, with some calling out of work during the shutdown, resulting in delays across the country. Same is true of TSA agents, I believe. Closely watched ballot measure I wanted to mention. Voters in Maine approved of a red flag law on Tuesday, according to the Associated Press, giving families the options to petition a judge to order weapons removed temporarily from a troubled relative. How about that? The ballot measure, known as Question 2, passed 2 years after a gunman in Lewiston, Maine, used an assault rifle to kill 18 people at a bar and bowling alley. Very interesting development there in Maine. We also learned yesterday that the Trump regime will end temporary deportation protections for migrants from South Sudan, according to a notice posted by the Department of Non-Homeland Security. Around 230 South Sudanese nationals are currently approved to live and work in the United States through the program known as Temporary Protected Status. But, of course, white supremacists hate that shit. And so they are doing everything they can to end it. Everybody's worried about the sandwich guy. What about the fate of the sandwich guy, the guy who threw a Subway footlong at a federal officer who was patrolling streets during His Majesty's reign there? And a federal jury on Wednesday began deliberating this verdict in the case against this guy, who we've all dubbed as the sandwich guy. And it is really important in a way because it's symbolic of the overreach and the just absolute absurdity of prosecuting this crime, much less the fact that the people that we have in charge are in charge. I think it's fair to say, because that sandwich never would have gotten thrown anyways. I mean, the last time anybody threw anything like that was a shoe at George W. Bush. Remember that in Iraq? And here's some eyebrow-raising rhetoric. Former U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder calling on Democrats to reform the Supreme Court should they win the trifecta in 2028, calling it a broken institution that was causing an untold amount of damage to the fabric of the country. Well, yeah. Eric Siegel and Elie Mystal and many others have been calling for that for ages. Thanks for showing up, Eric Holder. A little late, though. A horrific plane crash, just absolute tragedy in Kentucky, where at least 11 were killed and injured after a UPS plane crashed near the Louisville airport. It is horrible. They got a great safety record, apparently. I was talking to my friend Martha, a longtime listener who lives and worked at that plant at one point, knows a lot of people in the community. Terrible tragedy there in Kentucky, that plane crash. The governor declared a state of emergency, mobilized the National Guard. That's what you use the National Guard for. Passenger flights to and from Louisville resuming, according to the airport's website, but hampered by a major backlog of delayed flights and only one runway in operation. So just a horrible, horrible accident, it looks like there. And speaking of air travel, well, I mentioned this already, FAA to cut flights by 10% in 40 airports due to the government shutdown. How long is this going to last? This is going to be a problem. I mean, starting on Friday morning, it can affect 3,500 to 4,000 flights daily. I think that's the news story I started on, so I guess that is the one I will finish on as well. And that is all I've got in the headlines. Let's get to the clip show, the sound I've gathered for you on today's shit show. Let's start with this clip that today on my conversation with Jeff Jarvis. Jeff brings this up, so I figured I'd play it for you ahead of time. This is this segment that Zohran Mamdani did with MSNBC's Ari Melber. This is, I think, the night of the election or the day before. So it was I think the day before, the night of. Anyway, it doesn't matter. What matters is how quick and fast, smart and funny that he is and how likable his answers are. It is impossible to be disingenuous in this moment in my mind. I was very, very impressed with this. There's no way he had the questions at a time. So I thought you'd like it and I want to share you. This is impressive. And this guy is setting the bar pretty high.
James Carville was here.
Okay.
And he's been a little bit more of, I think he would call himself a centrist.
Okay.
He said Zohran Mamdani is more on message than any candidate he's ever worked with. Oh. And he said hands down, that's a positive trait.
Kind of him.
So here's the test.
Oh, God.
How quickly can you go from this topic back to affordability?
Okay.
Halloween.
Here's the thing. You're seeing candy prices shoot up across New York City. And it's part of the fact that we're the most expensive city in the United States of America. We got to take a look at that.
The movie Godfather.
You know, there are too many people who think that the only way they could afford to live in New York City is if their father already lived here. And the fact of the matter is you should be able to afford your own apartment and not just have to pray to God to get there.
Incredible.
Right?
You got there.
Nice work. Not bad.
Lightning round is in a word or a sentence. But it's your mic. If you go longer, you go longer.
Okay,
You're a candidate. In a word or a sentence, I am a democratic socialist because
I believe in the dignity of all people.
I am the Democratic nominee for New York because
I beat Andrew Cuomo by 13 points.
A reason conservatives are welcome in your Democratic Party is
they also have to pay rent.
Something Democrats are right about.
That we have to take on an authoritarian administration in Washington, D.C.
Something Democrats have gotten wrong.
We need to bring back working people as the focus of our party.
All right, New York, shouldn't be hard for you. My bodega order is
egg and cheese on a roll with jalapenos.
Bagels or Bialys?
Bagels.
Sure.
Come on. Why would you?
I mean,
what are you doing?
My favorite subway line is?
For nostalgia, the 9 train.
Okay. And right now?
The N train.
Okay.
Hashtag never. R train, hashtag rarely.
You can call yourself a real New Yorker when?
You know what a bodega is.
Your favorite cannabis shop?
I would have to frequent them more often to have a favorite.
Okay, there we go. And a couple big picture ones.
Okay.
The biggest challenge facing America is?
A belief that politics could be more than this.
And facing New York?
That we could actually have a city that New Yorkers could afford.
The biggest challenge facing the Republican Party?
That their agenda is one that is deeply unpopular with Americans.
And the Democratic Party?
That we are missing an affirmative message in a moment when New Yorkers are crying out for it.
Final two. If I lose, it's because?
I didn't come on this show earlier.
If I win, it's because?
I came here with a few days left before Election Day.
Zohar Mamdani, you are very busy right now. Thank you for coming through.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
You don't think was that impressive? What do you think? Anyway, that is what Jeff Jarvis talks about. He brings it up, and we discussed it. So more on that later. I saw this weird dust-up or awkward conversation, or just terrible, between two senators. Specifically, the terrible one is the senator from Ohio. His name is Bernie Moreno, and yesterday he sparred with Senator Jackie Rosen of Nevada, Democrat, in a very tense exchange over the shutdown. Moreno, apparently he's tracking Senator Rosen's car, and he's trying to argue that somehow she's a hypocrite because of the car she's driving or getting driven around in. So it happened during a Senate Commerce Committee meeting on Transportation Department nominees, and Senator Moreno said, would it surprise you that I got the VIN numbers of every one of my Democratic colleagues' vehicles and found that none of them bought any additional safety technologies on their cars? Because when you're actually shopping for a car with your own money, you don't buy the technology. But we're sitting here saying that this should be mandated for everybody else's cars. And what's been the result? We drove up the price of cars, almost doubled in the last 10 years. He then added, as somebody who's been here 10 months, I think that we just saw exactly the kind of, well, here it is. This is where it starts.
As somebody who's been here 10 months, I think what we just saw was exactly classic Washington, D.C. In other words, the car that I drive should be safe. The car that my staff drives, who cares about them? I get a paycheck.
I object to you stalking my car and my staff to find the VIN numbers to present to this committee. What are you doing there? What are you going to do with them? It's an invasion of our privacy. If you came and asked me for my VIN, I will tell you what I have in my car.
It's visible from the outside of the car.
So you went and followed me.
Is this my time?
You went and followed me to see who drives me.
Can I reclaim my time?
And write down their VIN number. You interrupted me. You're attacking me. You watched me go to see who drives me, writing down their VIN number so you could find out what they have. That seems a little creepy.
Just to expose the hypocrisy. Much like, for example,
expose
the fact
the hypocrisy.
that you get paid, you get a paycheck, but you walk by, you get a paycheck.
I'm donating my paycheck, sir, and would happily be on legislation
what do you say to
not
them?
to give.
What do you say to the staff? What do you say to the TSA workers? What do you say to the air traffic controllers?
What I am saying to you is it's the Republican shutdown, my friend. You are in control of the White House. You are in control of the House, and you are in control of the Senate. And if you went home to a food bank instead of going to Mar-a-Lago to eat at a gold-plated dinner while people are starving, you might see and hear your constituents, sir. You are blind to the suffering of your people.
Does it take 60 votes?
You listening and coming to the table to have a discussion.
So it does take 60 votes.
You want to have this, come talk to me in private, sir.
Okay. So it does take 60 votes, for the record, just so that we're clear on the reporting.
Oh, that guy's shown himself to be what I would say is a real asshole, a real POS. What do you think, huh? A real bag of shit, as I sometimes say. Senator Bernie Moreno, not great. All right, I like this from Jessica Tarlov, reaction to the outcome in the New Jersey elections they were talking about yesterday on Fox News.
2021 and got within a few points of Phil Murphy in that election. But Jack Ciattarelli ran a great campaign in 2021 and got within a few points of Phil Murphy in that election. And there were a lot of smart Republicans that were saying that they thought that he was going to win, that Mikey Sherrill was a weaker candidate than Spanberger. And there were counties that had flipped for Donald Trump that went immediately back for that terrible candidate, Mikey Sherrill, couldn't string a word together. And when I think things really turned to produce a margin of this size, which the pollsters do have some explaining to do, that it was a 13-point margin and they were talking, 5-6, Jack Ciattarelli in that debate gave Donald Trump an A grade and said essentially what Kamala Harris did on The View. I wouldn't do anything differently. Then Trump says, I'm going to take away the infrastructure spending for the Gateway Tunnel, which is really important for New Jersey and New York. And he didn't stand up for his people. In a state like New Jersey, that especially matters. That state, and I'm married to that state, is full of oomph and fight. And if you just sit there and take it because you serve dear leader, guess what? You're not going to win your election.
All right. I thought that was pretty good. Thought that was pretty good analysis. Wanted to share that. Oh, a great Trey Crowder rant in reaction to the big wins yesterday, the election results. Here he is, the comedian and political cultural commentator, I'll call him.
Hey, y'all, yesterday was election day in a handful of American states, and there were some good results for the Democrats. Now, many are hoping that can become some momentum that can carry through to the midterms next year. I mean, after all, when's the last time the Democratic Party failed to capitalize on a moment, or got in their own way, or let us all down when the stakes could not have possibly been higher, right? Nah, I'm sure they got it under control, should be fine. Now, listen, there's at least some reason to be cautiously optimistic that this could be the dawn of a new era on the American left. For one thing, in California, the blue gerrymandering measure, Prop 50, passed, and let's be honest, it's an underhanded bit of partisan chicanery that will disenfranchise millions of conservative Californians. And I absolutely love it. I don't feel even a little bit bad about that. Nope, I've been begging these motherfuckers to chicane for years now. A little skullduggery, baby. Come on. I mean, after all, treachery is the order of the day in American politics. Decorum and decency are out. Duplicity and dick punches are in. Okay, like nobody on the left is going to care that y'all maintain the moral high ground when we're all fighting over dog food after the fall. So by all means, scheme, plot, whatever it takes. I've been saying it. But if Prop 50 is any indication, maybe the ever-stubborn Democratic Party is willing to mix things up a bit. On a related note, in New York City, self-proclaimed Democratic Socialist Zoran Mamdani was elected mayor in a race that's long been seen as a bellwether for the American left. Old school versus new school, centrist versus progressive. What's a better long-term strategy for the future of the Democratic Party? Candidates who inspire legitimate enthusiasm, passion, and hope, or establishment hacks whose only redeeming quality is not being literally a fascist? Who's to say? New York made their opinion on that question pretty clear yesterday, but around the country, people aren't convinced. They wonder, could a candidate like Mamdani win anywhere other than a very cosmopolitan city? And here's what I think about that. Yesterday, both Trump and Elon endorsed Andrew Cuomo, a Democrat. Now, they wouldn't have done that if they weren't worried about Mamdani, and they wouldn't be worried about him if he wasn't on to something. That's what I think about that. Besides, before the results were even in, his term as mayor was off to a banging start, because apparently just the sheer notion of a Muslim winning New York City was enough to finally kill Dick Cheney. So, huzzah. His heart finally gave out. You know, the heart is the organ that's associated with traits like empathy, kindness, integrity. So it checks out that two different hearts spent like 50 years trying to kill Dick Cheney. And better late than never, I say. When I first saw that he died, I was worried we might have to put up with that shit that people do, where it's like when someone who sucks dies, you're supposed to pretend like they didn't suck just because they died. But no, it seems to me like pretty much everybody's response to, hey, Dick Cheney died, has been, Anyway, did you see what the Jets did? That's crazy, right? Which I feel like is appropriate. But look, in the grand scheme, the results yesterday were relatively minor, but still all the right people are pissed off about him. And one of the most cartoonishly evil political figures in modern American history has ceased to be. So verily, I will take it. Love y'all.
Yeah, Trey Crowder. See him live, everybody. Always great. Great to follow him, support him, and listen to his podcast and all of the rest. Let's head over to The Daily Show, where Jon Stewart was in the seat on Monday night and went off on the weekend festivities at Mar-a-Lago, where they had that great Gatsby-inspired party. And Stewart does a good job, as always, pointing out all the absurdity and hypocrisy. Take it away, John.
Donald Trump is a big-hearted, caring man who works 20 hours a day, 7 days a week to deliver for the American people. So I imagine if I were to randomly turn on the camera at Mar-a-Lago, where Trump was on the very night that the poorest of American people lost their food benefits, we would see images that reflect Trump's concern and dedication. Is that correct? You know what? In fact, let's turn on that camera. Yeah! That's what he was doing this weekend. He wasn't working for the American people. That was just some Hollywood Babylon shit. That once and for all shows that Donald Trump doesn't give a f*** about even looking like he gives a f***. Doesn't give a at all. Also, honestly, how uncomfortable is the seating at Mar-a-Lago? On the very night SNAP benefits ended, Trump threw a Great Gatsby-themed ode to decadence and hedonism that even Jeffrey Epstein would have thought was a little over the top. There were dancers, costumes, champagne, a wonderful celebration where the theme was apparently gross income inequality. The slogan of the party, as people were losing their food benefits, was, I shit you not, a little party never killed nobody. Did you even read The Great Gatsby? Spoiler alert, the party killed somebody. Two buddies. How do you not know that? I knew that, and I've only read the Cliff Notes. The Great Gatsby is a cautionary tale, and it's the theme for your... What'd you just think? Oh, it's a great book about a rich guy who bangs married ladies. No! Partially, yes, but the subtext.
All right, there you go, Jon Stewart, The Daily Show. We go from there to Jimmy Kimmel, his friend, Jimmy Kimmel. They have the same manager. That's right. Sweet baby Jimmy Dixon also reps Stephen Colbert. Yeah. Anyway, let's get to Jimmy Kimmel making fun of obese Juan Kenobi.
According to the Washington Post, since Trump installed himself as chairman of the board back in February, ticket sales at the Kennedy Center have taken a nosedive. So far, the Kennedy Center has only sold 57% of their tickets, which is down from 93% at this time last year. Everything he touches dies. Good news, Melania, you're going to live forever. But the downturn, this has not... The lack of ticket sales hasn't discouraged the tantrum of the opera one bit. He took a break from posting photos of the new Lincoln toilet to brag about his new Trumpified Kennedy Center. He wrote, "It is really looking good. The exterior columns, which were in serious danger of corrosion if something weren't done, are completed and look magnificent in white enamel." I don't know. He also said white enamel looked magnificent on his son's dental caps. So, sir, could you turn down your teeth a little bit, please?
Oh, yeah. Tantrum of the Opera. I love the names. That's where I get all mine from. Kimmel. So good. Well, there you have it, everybody. That is the news headlines. Those are the clips. That is the shit show. Try to do it every day for you. Can't do it without your support. So thank you very much. Another opportunity to plug the show because it's ad-free. Join our community. Join the Discord platform and support me with a paid subscription at patreon.com/Pete Dominic right now. All right. Well, speaking of right now, let's get to my guest. It's time for some Jeff Jarvis, Professor Jeff Jarvis. We love him. He's so smart. He's brilliant. He's so good at talking. He is a great friend. I like him so much. We always have a great conversation. We started this talking about the election results, polling, the history of polling. We covered a lot of ground in today's discussion, as we always do. Love talking to Jarvis. You can watch us live on YouTube at youtube.com/StandUpWithPete. We had hundreds of people watching us live yesterday, and you can watch it if you would rather do that and listen to it anytime over there on YouTube. All right, that's it. Let's do it right now with Jeff Jarvis. We are live with Jeff Jarvis, though. Oh, my goodness gracious. One of my all-time favorites. Just the man I wanted to talk to today, the day after an election. Lots to talk about. Good to see you, Mr. New Jersey. He's in New Jersey. I don't know if you're Mr. New Jersey. I don't know why I gave you that title, but thank you for joining me.
No muscles. Yay! That's my response after last night.
Were you worried?
Yeah. Not about New York, not about Virginia. I was about New Jersey, which only shows how stupid polls are and how ridiculous and worthless they are and how they're the ruin of democracy. I think we had a very so-so candidate in Mikey Sherrill. I think others would have been better. I think we could have run most anybody because Chitterelli is a Trumpist jerk and a three-time loser. Nonetheless, credit to her. She brought it out. It was a landslide. I'm delighted.
Do your bit on polls. I mean, all I can say is this seems like 5 or 6 election cycles in a row, maybe one exception in there, where they were off in many, many more elections than they were close. And it's not a science, and we're learning more and more. But I really don't. I don't understand it. What are your? I know you have thoughts on this.
I often quote the late James Carey, Columbia professor, who, to paraphrase him, says that opinion polling preempts the public conversation it is intended to measure.
Right.
And right now, for the next book I'm working on, the one after the next one, on the death of mass media, I'm researching the beginnings of polling. And it's interesting that in 1930-something, I'm forgetting exactly when, Literary Digest, I think it was, used to do straw polls with their readers. And their polls were predictive. And then
on political races? Or
yeah, just political, like who's going to win the race.
Yep.
And then one year they were really wrong, but this new guy called Gallup was right. And so this was the beginning of the polling industry. And it was the beginning of statisticizing us as human beings and treating us as ciphers for samples of people like us. And they call this a science. They think it's a science. It's not. It's a way, just like the idea of the mass, it's a way not to listen to us, not to understand us as individuals, not to respect our membership in communities, and to put us into others' buckets rather than our own.
Right.
And the problem is that the polls clearly preempt that conversation. They exhibit the biases of the pollster, the structure that the pollster sets up, the way the questions are asked. It robs us of nuance. It robs us of voice. It turns us all into nothing but statistics. Long before there was an internet and an AI, we were just numbers. And the interesting thing to me, Pete, as I research this, is that radio ratings and polling and market research and mass communication scholarship all came up at the same time. And they're all different frocks on the same mannequin. And I don't know where I was going with that.
I don't like that. I was fine. I thought you were going to say frets on a guitar. I thought you were going.
That could work, yeah. Frank Stanton, who was the head of research at CBS and later the president of CBS, desperately needed ratings for radio to say to advertisers, we're big, we told you, we talked to everybody, yes, look how big we are. And so a guy named Paul Lazarsfeld started the radio research whatever in Princeton, which later moved to Columbia. And this was the beginning of trying to understand ratings, at the same time polling, at the same time market research. And then scholarship came out of that. But it was all an effort to find ways to make us susceptible to messages, to propaganda. In fact, after World War I, the main word used here was propaganda. because propaganda was seen until Hitler came along as a good thing, because it's what we used to convince people to buy war bonds in World War I and to be against the Germans and all that. So it's a sick pseudoscience that robs people of their agency.
How does it, give me an example of how it robs people of their agency? And wouldn't you say that, you're talking about polling specifically, but also just about propaganda in general? Every ad is propaganda, every advertisement. Mm-hmm. When my daughters were really young, they grew up actually at a time where you could find a way on the DVR back then to skip or fast forward. So they saw less TV ads than maybe I did, but still, no matter where we went, billboard, whatever, I'd say to them, what are they trying to sell you? It was a game we played, so they understood that was what was happening, but they were so good at it that even when you knew that they were trying to sell you something, it still might affect your brain. So, like, where does it end, I guess?
Yeah, but have some self-respect for yourself and your daughters, that you probably really wanted it, after all. I mean, yes.
It was shampoo, so I wanted hair. I mean, we have to go.
Well, you bought the wrong brand, clearly. Right, and so it was advertising that convinced us all we stink and made up the industry of deodorant. And frankly, I'm glad they did. Having been in places where people don't use it, I'm just as happy that it exists. But it makes up these things for us, right? And it convinces us, it creates a demand for it. Advertising was demonized. I mean, if you go way back, what you saw advertised in newspapers was primarily really awful patent medicine. And the newspaper industry fought very hard against regulation of advertising because they knew this stuff was poison, but they wanted to keep advertising it. And only when Good Housekeeping came along and had the Good Housekeeping seal of approval on things, and suddenly the idea was that you had to advertise things that were actually good for people, the newspaper advertisers kind of dragged their heels and said, okay, all right, we'll get rid of them, publishers rather. And then advertising took off with mass audiences, with mechanized printing presses and so on. When you got to this idea of scale, you could reach everybody. You could have national brands. You could have Nabisco. You could have Royal typewriters or whatever. And so advertising as industry was created. In the earliest days of radio, how was programming made? The advertising agencies made it. Right? Soap operas were made by soap companies. And,
great point. Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And it was only later when the broadcasters realized they could make more money by cramming more ads than just one. It wasn't just the Texaco hour. Then you got more commercials and you got a different structure. People didn't want advertising on radio at first. They didn't want it on TV at first. But the die was cast, and that's how media were going to be supported. It didn't have to turn out that way, but it did. But once it existed, then it required this whole idea of measuring audience. And then the idea wasn't just that you measured, you said, well, I've got 5 million people listening to Amos and Andy. That wasn't enough. Now you had to also segment the audience and say, well, we have this many women, so you can advertise your soaps because it's women who buy soaps in the mythology. And so we get stuck in buckets that are not of our making.
Yeah.
And that's how it robs us of agency.
That's what that show Mad Men is about in large part, right?
Yeah. And
thank you, Barbara.
Is advertising effective to a certain extent? Obviously it is, because I worked at Condé Nast. It's the house that Hype built. Right.
Well, they also the funniest. I'm trying to think of a funny ad, campaign. But the truth is, like, one of the funniest. I think about this a lot. Is the terrible snack foods that get created in a lab, and then I always think about there's some corporate boardroom and there's a bunch of marketing experts talking about Crustables, and they're saying those words like a children's or some kind of toast, Pop-Tart or something, and it's a bunch of chemicals. Nothing's real, but it's delicious or sweet, whatever. It's this made up thing. They all made it up, and somehow they do an ad, and I'm like, I want that jelly filled pastry more than I want anything else in my life, and I want it in my body, and I want it now.
Yeah, but you really wanted that already. It was playing as something that was in you already.
Right. Yeah, I always wanted jelly wrapped in crust.
Yeah,
for sure. But wait, what are you saying?
But I didn't filled thing, a pierogi or anything.
But wait, what are you saying?
I'm saying that it plays to. It's not as effective as it's made out to be. This was the fight with Lazarus Felt. So the belief was, from Edward Bernays and his book Propaganda, the belief was there was a hypodermic needle model of propaganda, that you could squeeze this into people's veins in their heads. Then along came Lazarus Felt, influenced by a guy named Shills, who said that, no, in fact, it's a two-step process, that the propaganda on its own isn't that powerful, media aren't that powerful, that it really requires opinion leaders, who we would call today influencers. And then Todd Gitlin came along in the 70s and said, whoa, you're making excuses for big media. You're trying to act like, oh, it's no big deal that we're brainwashing people. In fact, it is really powerful. And so nobody really knows what the power of media are. And also, my friend Siva Vaidyanathan, who's a scholar at University of Virginia, always reminds me that there's no one single factor, right? Something in your childhood made you wish for sweets, and somehow the ad came along at just the right moment in your deprivation of happiness and said, here, eat this. Yeah. You will be happy, Pete. And there are multiple factors that make you buy that crap and eat it and enjoy it.
And those multiple factors are, as my friend Benny in the chat says, salt, sugar, and fat.
Yeah. And the same with politics.
Sure, yeah. Getting back to polling and politics.
Getting back to where we are.
And, I think it might be...
And so politics were sold as sugary treats.
How so?
Because they're trying to sell, I can make any promise to you, this is good for you, we're going to push this, or otherwise. It's advertising, and this is Neil Postman talking about how the structure of politics in America is a commercial.
Yes, indeed it is, and we saw a whole bunch of them, and I want to talk about the commercials that they wrote and why they worked, staying on this thread, and I just took a beat there. You're such a wonderful treasure of a person to talk to. And I know you're all modest and I'll stop and all that, but I mean, the fact that we can go off on any tangent and you can back it up and support it with history and data and facts. I'm actually not saying this so much for you, but for the listener and the viewer, when they watch someone that's able to do that the way you are at a wide range, on a wide range of issues, it really is someone that has a lot of credibility and someone that we should look to at least for a legitimate viewpoint. And increasingly, that's what I'm saying is the currency and the value of media is, does this guy know what the fuck he's talking about? And Jeff Jarvis has for years and years. Doesn't mean you agree with him. It doesn't mean that that's entirely true. There's another point. There's this or that. There's caveat. But you clearly know a lot more about what you're talking about on this and many other things than other people.
No, you are as ever too kind, my friend.
No, I don't think so.
The truth is that I'm researching that book proposal right now, so it's top of my head, and all I did was mangle our conversation to go off and show off.
Well, fine, that's fine, but that means you do it every time. Because every time we have this conversation,
just a show off every time.
You're able to do this on a wide range of issues, and I truly value it, and I always appreciate you. Moving on, back to politics.
So were you nervous about New Jersey?
I wasn't paying close enough attention. I always have a hard time.
Oh, you're New Yorkers. You just don't think New Jersey exists. You just don't care.
You know what, Jeff?
I know.
You know what, Jeff? I was very involved in my local town elections. It took up so much of my time. We lost everything. It took up so much of my. We didn't think we were going to win.
Okay.
It was a rebuilding year. We've been rebuilding the Democratic Party in Clarkstown, New York, for as long as I've been a member of it, and it's never been great. And it sure would be nice if we could get some money from the parent company. But, it's hard in these town elections. Do they necessarily matter? And I would say that this is the starter place for a lot of great people in public service. And I got no problem with it.
In my town in Basking Ridge, New Jersey, for the first time since we've lived here, more than 30 years, we have a majority of Democrats on the town council.
So it happened all over. It happened in Allegheny County, like 25 of 30 Board of Educations all went Democrat. It happened in upstate New York, where I'm from, in Onondaga County, the first time ever Democrat in the town level running it. And it happened apparently all over the country. Apparently every county in New Jersey moved, quote, to the left. I don't agree with anybody.
Every county in New Jersey and New York both did.
I would constantly wish I could wear my Overton window on my face to tell everybody where I think the left, right, and center is. But let's just take this apart. Like, you can attribute it to any number of reasons, but the polls were wrong, way wrong in New Jersey, especially.
Yes.
The candidate in Virginia gubernatorial race, the Republican, was terrible. But first woman ever, not to take anything away from Abigail Spanberger in Virginia. Obviously, we mentioned Mikey Sherrill, Mom Donnie. But I think the more important point is all these other local races that you're talking about and that I'm talking about. Why?
Because that's where the right did a really good job of building up this future and starting to kill schools and school boards and kill towns and have this issue. A. B, it's for morale. We needed some wins. And the Democratic Party is screwing up, and every poll says, oh, nobody likes the Democratic Party. Well, nobody likes anybody in politics right now. And it shows that we could come out and do it. My fear is that people are going to say, Spanberger and especially Sherrill, well, this is why we need more centrists. At the same time, you have Mamdani.
Well, I don't like it, but I don't like it. I don't like it when you use it. I'm the only one who knows the right framing. I wish people would just listen to me. It's crazy. You know why? Because you taught me to pay attention to to other countries' newspapers and news and societies in general. And when you say that Mamdani is an extremist or anybody in the left is an extremist, and you say it to, as I did yesterday, Australians. I was on Australian TV because I'm a pretty big deal.
Yeah, you are there. You're a star.
And there I was. And trying to explain to them our political framing, our Overton window here. And I'm like, what Americans are calling extremism, you guys see as completely normal. And furthermore, when they say the extreme left, it makes you think of what the extreme right is. The extreme right is conspiracy theories.
Yes.
Things that aren't real and crazy, demonic, ghost shit. And they're farming the blood of babies. And on the left, extremism apparently is Medicare for all, which is just Medicare. But for people younger than 65, all of a sudden socialism, not to mention anything about guns. Not to mention, like, what they say, Mamdani is a radical and a left-wing extremist and a socialist, all that, and you look at his platform, there's nothing in any way that if you looked at another country, they would look at him and be like, yeah, you don't treat people that way?
Amen, brother. Amen.
Okay.
All right. He's also brilliant. I've never seen a politician like him, right?
It's like somebody made him in a lab. He's too funny and smart and likable.
Oh,
like
God.
Nick Fuentes. Same thing. We'll talk about him later.
It's just amazing to watch. And, I consider myself an honorary New Yorker since I've worked there.
Me too.
Door,
yeah,
and
I worked and
lived
lived
in New York, right?
Yeah.
And I'm so happy. And I'm so glad that Andrew Cuomo is defeated for the rest of life. That makes me so happy because Andrew Cuomo hated New York. When he was governor of the state, he abused New York City through CUNY when I was at CUNY as a professor.
Yep.
He took money from us that he had promised to us. He abused us. He got rid of the board of trustees. He just screwed us around because he hated New York. And here he was running for mayor of New York. He's a dick. And I'm glad that he's flaccid for the rest of his life.
I had this one guy, Paul Reichhoff, who I used to be good friends with and have a lot of respect for, wrote a public, he's fashioned himself as a kind of independent, whatever the hell that means these days. Fine. But there isn't any, he's got no lane. I just don't know what he's doing. And I told him publicly and privately. So now I don't mind just criticizing it because he put an endorsement on Facebook for Andrew Cuomo. And I'm like, who? And he says, Mamdani is too dangerous and all this. I'm like, Andrew Cuomo is credibly accused of sexual assault. He's disqualified.
What does it say? Yeah, I know.
How can you?
I know.
How is Mamdani
like
dangerous?
And he's driven me nuts over the time. Sometimes he'll be on with Nicole Wallace, and it's that BS centrist thing.
It's nonsense, and that's why I can't even have him on. I try to talk to him privately, talk him out of it. I'm like, I don't know what you're doing. I think it's bad for you. I think it's bad for the country. It's not real. You're not reaching. I don't know who these people necessarily are, but they're the Andrew Cuomo voter, I guess.
Let's look at how many years have I supported Hillary Clinton? I supported her first and foremost both times she ran for president. I maxed out on the money. I defended her against everything. And then she comes out and she says she sloughs off New York City, and I don't care about New York City because she doesn't want to talk about
why at this point in her life and his life.
She's done with me. Her husband endorsed Cuomo in the primary. He of all people. Sexual abusers stick together, I guess.
That's a weird one, yeah. Yeah, he should have not done that.
And that Schumer wouldn't even say who he voted for and wouldn't endorse. Get out of here, Chuck.
He's done.
You're done.
Put a fork in him. Yep.
You're over.
Yep.
All right, here's the question. And it's the obvious question that everybody is asking now and the socials they're wishing for. Could AOC win the Senate in New York across the whole state?
Absolutely she could, for the same reason Mamdani could. The same reason. They're so smart and authentic, and most importantly, they are young. And old fucks don't know how to use social media. Well, they could get some young person to hire them. No, you have to know how it works so that you can go, I'm going to go out on the street with a sign. I'm going to go to a restaurant. I'm going to go to a gay club and DJ. I'm going to do all these different things, and we should put it on TikTok this way. This should be the Instagram post. This should be the graphic. And these are the memes, by the way, that are hot right now. now. And that's why being young matters. Being as smart as AOC is, I don't think I've ever seen her not be able to argue effectively without knowing the subject. Watching her go on Instagram live on her own, like she'll take on anybody and she'll make them look dumber than she'll be smarter than all the people that she's taken on. I absolutely think that she could convince people who think of her now as however they think of her, as something different. I do.
And I gotta admit, I came a little bit late to Mamdani, even knowing about him. Right?
Yeah.
In fact, I want to give credit right now. There's a woman on Twitter named Sophie Vershbau, and she has a dog named Simon. I love this dog. You would love this dog. It's the goofiest looking dog, the big ears, little tiny legs. Simon's great. She puts up pictures of Simon every day, and she's a writer. She's a journalist, and I love watching Simon. So Simon is the official dog mayor of New York, by the way. There was an official thing that happened, and Simon is the dog mayor of New York.
Okay.
And he deserves to be. Simon ought to be. Anyway,
I don't know what your
she's in her
obsession with this
30s.
dog
She's
is.
really bright New Yorker. And when she started talking about Mamdani, it's when I realized what he had and what the appeal was and the authenticity of him. And I saw it through her eyes. And so I'm grateful to you, Sophie, wherever you are. You should have Simon on the show. Simon's great.
If you can engage with make contact with, get in the feed of on their phone, young people. If you can get in the feed, that's hard. If you can stay in the feed, if you can keep them watching for more than 15 seconds, then you might just be able to inspire them. You might be able to inspire them, make them laugh, get them engaged on an issue. And if that issue is affordability, this generation of Americans, Gen X and millennials, Gen Z and millennials, are fired up about everything dealing with affordability. I mean,
because they can't afford to live.
They can't afford to live, and you're in their TikTok, and you're attractive and smart and funny. And you can. What I'm saying is, you can get a demographic that is apathetic and not engaged in politics and voting and retail politics. And if you do, then that's all you need, because the olds are always going to show up.
Yeah, well, I'm going to look up a friend of mine, Mark Harris, who's a wonderful writer, who you also ought to have on some point. Put up a great post. So there was, I hope this is the right Mark. No, it's not. Damn, I'm not going to find it. There was a great stat that came out that my wife sent to me, that said that the straights split 46-46, Cuomo versus Mamdani. But LGBTQ plus.
You call us the straights?
That's what the post said. I kind of like that.
They tell it the straights. I was like, is he using some kind of betting parlor genre rhetoric?
The boring straight people.
The straights, the normies, the heteros.
The normies. Well, no, we're not normal. We are the old normal. There's a new normal, damn it.
Fair enough. Yeah, they're fluid as hell.
So let me find this again. But LGBTQ plus went, I think, 70-80%
for Mamdani.
Which is, and so part of what I was hearing today,
even though he's Muslim.
Yeah. But what I was hearing today on the likes of Morning Joe is, it was the most amazing booking this morning. We'll go off on a tangent. He had on Greenblatt, who can drive me absolutely crazy.
I saw that. I used to be good friends with him. I used to talk to him off.
I used to like him too.
Yep.
There's a story.
Jonathan Greenblatt is the head of the Anti-Defamation League, is who we're talking about.
And he's gone way overboard.
Ever since October 7th, really. I mean.
So he had on that. Then he had on Fareed Zakaria to just dismiss the Mamdani victory. Oh, Adams won by a much bigger margin. There was nobody running against him. And then he had on the odious Piers Morgan. And
what a day of guests.
On this, right after the bluest night you can imagine. And Joe was actually good with Greenblatt. He pushed Greenblatt. I give him their credit.
Look at you.
Anyway. So Morgan is on, and Joe and Piers Morgan are agreeing. I said, well, they got to give up this trans stuff. No, folks.
Apparently not.
The fact that Mamdani supported trans rights and was solid there, that gave him that that majority of something akin to 80%.
I'm honestly surprised about that, and I think that in a lot of districts and a lot of states, that dog doesn't hunt anymore. It did, though. It was a really effective thing. That's why we lost the Board of Education in my town. It was all over trans issues.
I think
liberals and progressives were split over it, bathroom usage in sports and all that nonsense.
Yep.
But now it would seem, based on the data last night, at the school board elections and the number of, obviously, Mamdani, that issue is not one to necessarily run away from. And it seems like maybe Democrats learn how to talk about it.
Yeah. So here's Mark Harris. Mark Harris is a wonderful writer. Long ago, he was young Mark, hired at Entertainment Weekly when I was the editor. He's a brilliant writer. He said that LGBTQ plus turnout was 14% of the electorate, about exactly the same size as the Jewish vote, and broke for Mamdani 82-15. Which was enough to break the 46-46 tie among the straights. He didn't use straights.
Straights are the worst.
Also interesting, he has some other stats here that are interesting. Cuomo won Protestants 42-49. Catholics 53-33, with 14% for Sliwa. And Jews 63-33. But Mamdani won so big among other and none that it didn't matter.
Cuomo won 63% of Jewish voters?
Yes. Yes.
Interesting. And I wonder.
But some would have thought that he would have won nothing because in politics of 20 years ago, well, here's a Muslim running.
Well, I'm guessing
a third of Jews said no, we support Mamdani.
And I'm guessing of that third of those who identify as Jewish that supported Mamdani, they're overwhelmingly young.
I bet too.
And don't see Israel the way that their elders see it as a kind of. It's also this issue when you're constantly trying to crowbar in and wedge the trans issue, you're always talking about one of a few things: the sports, the bathrooms, or the mutilation, what they're doing to young kids and all that. And I'm not debating that. What I'm saying is that a lot of people, I will debate it. I'm saying the effective talking point is like, do you think that people care more about the one trans girl in the entire NCAA than the cost of their health care, their student loans, their rent, and food? Because they don't. Because they really don't. No matter how hard you try to make them care. It worked for a minute. It did. But I just think that one is not everywhere, but in a lot of places. And I think Democrats have learned how to pivot, as Mamdani did, and stay on the issue that everybody cares about, which is the affordability. It is every day we're worried about our bills. Every day. And our parents didn't have to worry about it nearly the way that we have to.
Absolutely.
And you don't even think you can have a future. You can't buy a house. You can't. It's just not the way it used to be. And it's an animated issue for everybody, is all I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, Morning Joe, I learned today from Jonathan Lemire, is the median age for buying a house now is up to 40. Young people can't afford to.
What was it when, what was it 30 years ago or 20 years ago? But it was.
I bought one when I was 32.
I bought 2 houses when I was 18. So they were Lego.
It was your illicit drug trade was paid?
Yeah, one of them was just a grow house.
Yeah.
And the other one was where I kept my ladies. They were just business ventures. Okay, lots more to discuss. And I guess the most important or the hottest topic is, and I don't know how many think pieces I've read about this, Jeff, but Republicans are obviously going to use Mamdani. They're going to call him the leader of the Democratic Party, and they're going to.
If only is my response.
Well, I will let you unpack that, but what do you think? How effective will that strategy be? How effective? You have a lot of kind of third way, left to center, centrist types saying, listen, Democratic socialists will not go in my state, in my district. And I always just am dying to unpack what it means to be a Democratic Socialist, but we're not going to get that chance. Those two words, we can't run on the same issues like that Mamdani did in New York City. But that's what they're already trying to do. Republicans are, and will it work?
So I've always liked Bernie Sanders, but I didn't like Bernie Bros.
Yeah.
And there were moments when I didn't like Bernie. Right. When he was being obnoxious.
I like Jesus, but not his followers.
Yeah. But, yeah. But nowadays, I got to say, looking back, most times, Bernie was right. Some people thought AOC was an extremist, but she's a deft politician, a mature stateswoman, really good at what she does, and she's usually right. And she expresses it well. And I think AOC... I think Mamdani is going to be not unlike both of them, which is democratic socialism, though AOC doesn't call herself that, but she aligns with it. But I think that he has the Pete Buttigieg charm muscle so well, too.
Pete Buttigieg wishes He had the Mamdani.
Yes.
Like you got it backwards, but I know what you're saying.
Yeah. Pete Buttigieg can go on Fox News and not just survive, but win.
Yes.
Mamdani's better than that.
So as a result of that, you're making me think here, if Mamdani is the mayor of New York for 1 year and people aren't in breadlines, if the opposite is that people are actually happier, things are a little better. And that's all they would need to be. As long as they're not your deepest fear of communism and socialism and private enterprise has been taken over by the government, Democrats all over the country will be like, New Yorkers look like they're pretty happy with this dude. Maybe he's not what they were saying about him. It's like Obama. Obama was president for 8 years, and eventually people did not think, that he was going to take away their guns. Because he didn't.
Yeah, and you know, can he really do free buses? Great moment on Morning Joe when he was on yesterday, when they press him about Cuomo and getting an endorsement from Trump. And Mamdani, this is where he's so fucking good.
Yeah.
He turns it around immediately and says, well, I want to talk about that endorsement because Andrew Cuomo paid a very high price for that endorsement. It was also from Elon Musk and Stephen Miller, right?
Yep.
And he said that the tax breaks that Cuomo gave to Elon Musk, and he quoted the number, is enough to pay for my bus plan. Boom. Boom.
Well, the other thing, I heard this analysis of it, and it wasn't Mamdani, it was somebody else. It's not just that you would get free buses, and that would be easier for people's lives. It's a capitalist argument. If you invest in getting people to work, they're going to be happier, they're going to work more, and they're going to have more money to buy more nonsense that we just talked about, Crustables and anything
society.
else.
Yes.
Everybody wins. Like, everybody wins. Whatever you're fucking selling, whatever those people that are on the free bus are going to do, whether it's daycare or work anywhere, that's good for you. Everybody is a winner. Rich people are a winner. Poor people are a winner. The people who drive the buses, it is an economic boon. And when it's characterized and demonized, I understand why people don't like things. You're giving something away. Hell no. Sell it to them by telling them if we give them a free bus ticket, they'll be able to come to work for you for your fucking shitty wages.
Yeah. And the new light rail that they're planning between Queens and Brooklyn to finally connect a direct connection so you don't have to go through Manhattan can sprout up homes and offices alongside it all the way. It can spread out the prosperity of New York.
Oh,
from
interesting.
Manhattan east. And I think one thing that I just going to bet that Mamdani will do, the best thing I think he can do is to cause a boom in housing construction. That's going to do more than freezing rents. That's going to create a competitive marketplace. And that alone will make things more affordable. And the more that he can open up building, which will make Wall Street and the capitalists and the investors happy, for what they build. It'll make unions happy for the jobs they get. It'll make residents happy and stay in New York. I think that's the kind of thing that if he does it, and, you know, you see that his transition team is Adams' first deputy mayor and Lena Khan. That was fascinating. That'll scare Wall Street because Wall Street cannot stand
Lena
her.
Khan is what? She's the former FTC, but what is?
FTC, yeah, and Wall Street hates her, but she's on his transition team.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Right, which is a bit of a shot across Wall Street's bow, but she's experienced and she's not always the most realistic in my view, but be that as it may, he's gonna go for the best names he can get, and if he can get some of these programs off. The grocery stores aren't gonna be a big deal. There's other cities that do this. And the free childcare is incredibly important, yes. That's the most expensive. That's gonna be the most difficult to do.
Again, if you give people free childcare by doing different things with taxes, everybody's making more money.
Exactly.
People are staying. I couldn't stay in the city because I couldn't afford childcare for a second kid. We couldn't afford actually universal healthcare, which de Blasio got done. I'm sorry, universal pre-K. Couldn't afford it. It's better for everybody. Who loses? I keep on asking who loses. Government grocery stores. They have them. They're called liquor stores in Pennsylvania. Other cities have done it. We can talk about how it works. None of it's radical. Nothing is radical anymore. If you let's just argue out the ideas and policies, and let's remember who we're talking to, who would be affected by them. If we're talking about the vast majority of Americans, let us talk about it. We don't need wealthy people to be influencing us with their propaganda campaigns and their dumb ideas, which benefit them.
They deserve to be taxed 2% more. To hell with it.
This morning, Mamdani tweeted or posted something about just checking in to see how many billionaires have left since I won last night.
Yeah.
Let's keep track.
They're not. Yeah.
Make your announcement. I can't wait till you leave. What are you going to do? Where are you going? You're going to leave New York? No, you're not.
So back to your question. Is it bad if the Republicans treat him as the leader of the Democrats? Or is it good if the Democrats do? And I think it's good if the Democrats do. I think if we start saying that, screw.
Oops. At this point during our conversation, somehow I punched out of the conversation, but I came back in like 20 seconds, and this is where it picks back up. I'm back.
You're back. Okay.
I left my own party. You said screw Trump, and I had my finger.
I've had it. No more of that talk.
Sorry, everybody. That must have been so disappointing.
So I screw the Senate and House leadership. It's time to replace them. Nancy Pelosi is debating whether to run again. Don't. Chuck shouldn't run again. Don't. We've got to bring in the youth. I think one great message from all this is youth. Other cities and other states have to feel very empowered by Mamdani. He is not a usual candidate. I get it, but these people aren't. It's not that hard to find young, charismatic people. No. I mean, there's not everybody going to be like this guy, but I think, what you're saying is it's really interesting and exciting, but I love what you said that we shouldn't let Republicans create the narrative. We should create the narrative. Democrats should create the narrative about the way forward, and we need to embrace his success.
Don't run from him.
At the same time, and what's his name? The head of the Democratic Party, whose name I always forget. Who is the head of the party?
Hakeem Jeffries?
No. The
Ken Martin?
The DNC.
Ken Martin.
Thank you. So he was, I think he'll play this smartly. Look, we had victories from, supposedly, air quotes, centrist Becky Sherrill and from supposedly left-wing Mamdani. We're the party of both. We can be both. I think that's okay. If we get talked into this idea by the Katie Tours of MSNBC to say, oh no, we've all got to be Becky Sherrill now, we all got to be Spanberger now, that's doom. But if we say that we can embrace Mamdani, be happy for his victory, I think that's going to telegraph a lot. If we don't, we're screwing ourselves again.
I rarely have to do this, but on the live stream, I had to ban somebody. I just checked in the chat, and he's criticizing me for not talking about Jesus' vision. I'm like, I'm not. You get the fuck out of here. I don't know who that guy was, but he's probably one of your people.
You're going to hell.
I think that's a great point. I think that's a great point. I think that's a great point.
Here's a question for you. Being a Democrat, of course, I always start to look at the bad side of things quickly. Eeyore, the world. Is it possible that last night we peaked too soon? That we had our moment of victory, and come the midterms, do you think we'll still get it up?
I don't know if you will. I am.
Yeah, I will too, but
I think that the things are going to get worse for everybody as a result of Republicans and our insane dictator tot. And as long as that's the case, as long as he's there, he continues to insert himself and be terrible every day. But so do prices. The economy's not getting better. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
Oh, it's getting far worse. The line that I try to put on signs when I go to No Kings protests, it hasn't picked up. I don't know why. Mm-hmm. You remember the great line, it's the economy's stupid. In this case, I keep on saying it's stupid's economy.
Right.
It is.
Right.
He owns it.
And you could argue that increasingly people throw the bums out, whoever the incumbent is. So that matters. But your question was, is it too early? And I think, unfortunately, things are going to get worse. Yeah. And I think Democrats and everybody that's not in office to a certain extent is going to benefit from it. And it's also not hard to see. These aren't complicated. The 2008 financial crisis was very confusing for all of us. What happened? Housing bubble? What is that? And it means I lost everything. It means nothing's worth it. Like, why? You did what to save it? That was confusing to people. I think this is a lot less confusing to people what's going on. And it looks very self-inflicted with these tariffs. It'll be interesting to see if the Supreme Court sounds
I got to listen to half of it.
Oh, you did?
And they were dubious.
The question was basically, does the executive branch, as the President of the United States, have the freedom, the responsibility, the ability to levy tariffs on his own without Congress? It's a question, just another one about power, separated powers, legislative branch versus the executive branch. We know that the judicial branch is owned by Christian nationalists, but they are also capitalists, and Republicans hate tariffs.
Well, they also hate the precedent of what can be done elsewhere. So Gorsuch was actually very interesting. I think it was him on these 2 points. Mm-hmm. He asked Sauer with a horrible voice like Kennedy's voice. Basically, you're saying that the president has this authority when it comes to foreign relations, so he can just do anything. So are you saying that Congress could allow him to declare war without coming to Congress, that they could in fact do that? And Gorsuch doesn't want to hear yes to that question. And he backs up Sauer to the point that Sauer said, well, yeah, we don't really say that. And there was laughter in the courtroom. And he also said, well, another president could come along, say, and declare climate change a existential crisis. And Sauer says, well, we don't believe that. He said, I know, but another president could, i.e. a Democrat. And then could put on tariffs such that they could cut off all gas engine cars from around the world.
Right, sure.
Would you like that?
I would.
That's what you're saying. You're saying this is unreviewable by courts.
Yeah.
And you're cutting us out of it, sucker. And you're saying that Congress can't review this. And we know he's a nut job, and you've handed it over to him, and we might have gone too far. Now, my concern is I think we might, just knocking on wood, win the tariff fight. And then the market's going to go up. My 401k is going to do better, and I'm going to be happy because that's all that matters in life, my money. But we're going to lose the shit that really, really matters, like voting rights. And that's going to be concerning. This court is going to fool some people and say, oh, maybe they're unreasonable. No, they're not. Just like thinking, I thought Marjorie Taylor Greene, maybe there was some tiny bit of sanity somewhere in that swamp of her head. And then at the right moment, she comes along and says that aliens are real and they're here. I think, okay, good. It's still Marjorie.
Butch body.
Still her.
The other thing that we haven't talked about vis-a-vis the economy is, and people should always look at it this way, is healthcare. So your healthcare premiums are going to spike on the individual market, but so are your healthcare at your everybody with a W-9 has got something to be concerned about as well. I mean, this is a huge cost for people, and everybody knows who's to blame for it. And I think that's going to be a huge problem. And also is just further evidence. All of these things we're talking about are further evidence, in my opinion, that Democrats absolutely played the shutdown. I don't think you can argue that they did the wrong thing.
It well. Yeah, I agree.
There's pain. It's scary. People are legitimately hurting, but but it's their fault. And, well, Democrats are looking to lower the cost of healthcare over shutting down the government. And that's worth it to everybody who just saw their premium go up by 115%, according to Kaiser.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to be awful. It's going to be absolutely
And that's going to matter to people. Who are they going to assign blame to on that?
So Elizabeth in the comments just burst my bubble.
What'd she say?
She listened to the whole hearing and said they actually twisted themselves into pretzels trying to find a way to give him the power to tax us through tariffs. Oh, well, we'll see.
Well, that's her interpretation. I haven't seen that interpretation. I'm interested in Elizabeth, and I'm interested in anybody who watches. She says she listened to the whole hearing, so I give you a lot of credit, and you have the context that I don't. But I just read tweets and headlines.
So I can't be on with you without whining about media.
Yeah, please. I mean, I know you got to go, so.
No, I don't have to go.
I thought you had to go to 4:30 in 5 minutes, but please whine about the media.
Okay, fine. So the New York Times
stay as long as you
and
want.
Mamdani.
Yeah.
Like, AG, you wouldn't endorse him. You have a vendetta against him constantly. Mm-hmm. You've lost New York. You are not
AG is the editor of
the publisher. AG Sulzberger. And they're going to try to make up with him now. They're going to make nice with him now, and he's going to try to too. But no, New York Times, you showed your true self. You abused Mamdani at every possible turn on the editorial board and in news columns. And you are not of this city. You have lost this city.
Harsh criticism.
I'm pissed at them for national politics, but I'm also pissed at them for local politics and what they've done.
I paid no attention to the New York Times coverage of the campaign. It's interesting too why I didn't, given the nature of my work and my interest in it. I guess in a weird kind of way, like I was pretty satisfied with watching the candidate in his campaign.
Yeah.
And maybe that's wrong.
Yeah.
I should read
well, no, not at all. Quite the contrary. We don't need mass media is dying. We don't need them. We do need, there are functions we need and functions that are only partially being filled in by newsletters and podcasts and so on. And it's going to be chaos, but we're going to fill it in, and we just don't need those big guys.
The thing that really, I wasn't super, clear about Mamdani's stances on Israel, on a lot of things vis-a-vis religion and all that. But I was pretty sure they were being mischaracterized. But then I saw him on Colbert. And he was sitting next to Brad Lander, who was giving him cover, the highest ranking elected Jewish man and person in New York. But I'm saying that interview was so interesting and so thoughtful. The two debates, those mattered to me. Yep. The way he campaigned, the way he related to people. One of the things that put Mamdani on the map for a lot of people across the country, certainly New Yorkers, with him screaming as families were being ripped apart, getting not violent, but in the face of whoever those federal agents were. People want someone that fights. Young people fight for us. He did all that. So I watched all that and didn't read much about him.
Because that's what you learned from. You felt you had a connection with him, and it didn't have to be mediated.
Yeah, I want to see him question hard. I want to see him debate. I want to see him have to answer for everything. But I did.
He did. He was on morning. This last week he was on Ari Melber, and Ari is doing weird interviews these days. But Mamdani was brilliant.
I saw it and shared it. It was easily the most impressive thing I have seen, unless he gave him the questions ahead of time, which there's no way I don't think Mamdani would allow that, or his team. But basically, if you haven't seen that clip, Ari, as a comedian, as an on-air person, as an audience member, he asked them a bunch of things, lightning round things.
Yeah.
And he specifically asked them how quickly, it was almost like making fun of Mamdani. Mamdani was all for, how quickly can you turn this back to affordability? Okay. And he did it with shit like Star Wars and whatever it was. And it was unbelievable. And there's not many people who could do that, but maybe I'm wrong. He was brilliant. Then
he was on Morning Joe the day before the election, and Morning Joe's been grousing about him all along, and been having on Greenblatt to grouse about him all along, and Donnie friggin' Deutsch, and Mamdani was again brilliant. Now, we need more than rhetoric, but he's going to hire the right people. He's clearly friggin' brilliant.
Yeah.
He cares. He represents people. I'll just say it again. The Democrats must embrace him. And Schumer, Chuck, you're over. Go find some horrible old folks home in upstate New York, get a 2-bedroom with Cuomo, and be the has-beens of New York politics.
Listen, for people who are just listening, not watching, Jarvis legitimately looked off camera for the first time to the right and committed the whole time he was talking to Schumer. He was off to the right. It was really impressive.
It's because the camera is. The problem is, I think I'm looking at you. It's a problem.
I feel like you might have a Chuck doll right off the side of your monitor. The way you were committed.
Chuck, I'm telling you, get out of here.
Oh, man, I love talking to you.
Where's my pins to put in the Chuck doll?
Do you have any other media complaints? Because that's pretty much
the Washington Post is screwed up. The Ellis, I think we have to. Barry Weiss is
CBS.
Horrible things. CBS.
She's got like a $10,000 a day security detail.
Oh, ridiculous.
Oh, I have to, you missed it earlier. I said Mamdani reminds me of Nick Fuentes. Are you familiar with this kid?
Yeah.
So
our friend Julia Jeske, that's what brought me to her.
Oh, okay.
Is that she covered Fuentes when she was in school.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. She covered.
And she showed her cojones and her courage to do that.
I bet.
And that's what led her. That's why I said you've got to do this new thing of decoding Fox News. I knew she had the guts to do it.
She also literally had Gavin, what's his name, the head of the Proud Boys, the creator of McKinnon. She covered him too. I mean, she's very brave and one of the best. We always have to talk about her. No, but Nick Fuentes. I watched Nick Fuentes with Tucker Carlson.
Oh, I didn't have
Watch it. There is something, and if people aren't paying attention, there's a great article in Wired yesterday about it by an author named Gilbert, is the reporter, who does a good job at covering the Civil War on the right. And I don't know if it's going to continue or if it's just a thing this couple weeks, but they are taking sides, Jarvis. The right-wing media, and wherever they land is where the politicians that back them land. I don't know if you heard about the controversy at Heritage Foundation where the head of Heritage Foundation, Kevin Roberts, basically came out and gave Nick Fuentes a wink and a nod, and he's with Tucker. Tucker is normalizing Nick Fuentes. And so is the Heritage Foundation. Now the Heritage Foundation is split, and there's this huge war between Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh, who works for Ben Shapiro, and Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes yesterday also went off on Mark Levin, and for me personally, one of the most satisfying because I hate him the most, the right-wing talker who's been very influential. And it's a very, very interesting thing to watch, and I think it's very important, and I don't think it's going to stop. I think they are splitting the party. They're going to make elected Republicans choose sides, from white supremacists to whatever else these other Republicans think they are. I think the standard you walk past is the standard you accept. So if you're supporting white supremacists, you're a white supremacist, but they don't think they are.
And the other word we haven't mentioned that's going to come up again because it's going to keep coming up again, Epstein.
Yeah, what's going to happen here?
The furor is going to have to rise again because the election's over and now people are bored. They're going to go back to it.
You're right about that. That's exactly the media is going to look for the next big thing, and that is the big thing every day unless there's something bigger for a couple days, like an election or a government
And we
shutdown.
still have Marjorie Taylor Greene again. None of us can believe we're quoting her, but we still have the victims list. And we have MTG saying that she'll read it on the House floor if they ever come back.
Oh, I didn't know that. Did you hear AOC spill the tea on MTG and why she's flipped on?
No.
She's flipped on Trump and Republicans because they sabotaged her ambition to run for Senate in Georgia.
Oh.
That's what AOC said on an
sense.
Instagram Live.
Perfect
That's
sense.
her opinion. I don't know.
Yeah.
But something had to explain it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, it would be nice to think that women are, and victims of sexual assault and harassment are siding with others. That's kind of the narrative they're trying to spin. But these women would throw all those victims under the bus for any kind of promotion, it would seem, in my opinion.
And
Nancy Mace.
My wife keeps saying, Trump, unless Trump were on the list, he wouldn't care because he cares about no one else.
Your wife is smart. But I don't know. So they're going to, what are they going to do? Once these Republicans, this whole government shutdown, rather the House recess has been about trying to turn a few Republicans away from this discharge petition, but they're not. They haven't been able to peel them away.
I think they smell that if they did, they're doomed, and Trump's going to go away. And if in fact there can be video of Trump doing bad things to underage girls. And you know what? He'll still stay in office. He can do it on Fifth Avenue, and it won't matter. That's how sick our country is. That's how
I think that, he'll say it didn't happen. They'll say it's AI.
But the politicians who are on that discharge list are not going to want to. They're worried about a future after Trump.
As they should be. Yeah. And if you side with a pedophile, and you said underage girls, I got scolded the other day. Oh. It's not underage girls. It's children or girls. Yeah. I was like, I'm gonna concede that one. I'm gonna try to catch myself because
stipulated, Your Honor.
You're thinking, 15 to 19-year-olds or something, and then you think kids are like under that or something. But we don't need to do that. Everybody knows. You know that you're not allowed to do that. You old fucking creepy dirtbag. That's a child. By the way, as a father, you have a daughter. Mm-hmm. I'm not allowed. I don't allow myself to look at any woman. I try not to, who is anywhere near my daughter's age. So the older my daughter gets, the older my eye has to get, because otherwise I'm looking at someone my daughter's age. It feels so weird to think that you're like. Granted, my daughter's 20, but still, like that's 30 years younger than me. You shouldn't. I'm going to go ahead and moralize on that.
This may be more
no offense to Caroline Levitt, whose husband is 60 and she's 28 or some shit.
Yeah. No. But this may be more revelatory of me than I care to do, but what the heck.
I just did it. Give me some cover.
So, in your mind's calendar, how old are you?
Well, I just turned 50, so it's.
But when you look at the world,
I don't know. I don't know
how to. Not how old you think you are. I don't mean that. How you judge the world.
I don't know.
I still somehow And when I catch myself, I think I'm 35 years old.
What do you mean?
I know I'm not. I don't think I'm that young or anything, but I think that that's the perspective that I bring. And then I realize, no, idiot, you're an old man. That's that. But I think that, there's this reflex that we have to make sure that we don't exercise. It takes
I see what you're saying.
Diligence.
Yeah, for sure. But you get daily reminders the older you get too.
You don't want to marry someone who's younger than your daughter. That would not be good.
I was running the other day, and this happened for the first time. A man was walking towards me on the path, and he was older than me, probably 15, 20 years, maybe more. And I'm running. He's walking towards me, and he puts his hands up and starts clapping in my face. And I'm like,
good for you, old man.
Exactly. I'm like, why did that guy just do that? And I go, he did that because he's impressed with a man my age still running. I'm old looking. I got a white beard. That's a wrap.
Yeah.
And then I went back and kicked the shit out of that old man. I said, don't patronize me, sir. I didn't. I just made him work out. He was working out. Why did I?
Watch out for your knee. I used to air quotes run, but the knees, the
so
feet,
when I see these people
hips.
running marathons at 60 and 70 and listen,
I don't get it. I can't.
I on my meditation every morning, I go through all my joints and I'm grateful for them because I know they don't last. But my thing is skiing. So as long as I can ski, I'll be happy.
Clumsy. My 12B shoes are my skis already.
My dad's 81 and last year we went down to Black Diamond together and he goes, I can't believe how old I got so quick. I can't believe I can't do what I used to. I'm like,
Black Diamond.
I go, motherfucker, you are 80 and out here. What? Would you be grateful for that? Like if I get anywhere near 70 and I'm still in the mountain, I am the winner.
Yeah.
You're killing it, sir. But that's not his perspective. Fair enough.
So I got to get cataract surgery now. It's all this stuff starts happening, man.
You're a 2-time cancer survivor?
Yep.
Pretty impressive.
Yes.
Yeah. They say you're happier after 60. That's not true?
Oh, yes, it is, Pete. Oh, sure. You have a lot to look forward to, Pete. You're going to be just
getting old is
happy as
fun.
can be.